in, I guess, 2010, 2011 time period, we started noticing a groundwater decline. Our folks measure monitoring wells in this area, and so we started kind of tracking it. And not long after that, we get a phone call from the Christopher Cove Homeowners Association wondering what's going on with their lake. And so we had visited the lake and kind of visited some of their information. They'd been taking levels for a while, which really helped us out. We had got with them and tried to, kind of come up with a plan or trying to see what was going on. So we kind of pulled together the county, the city, the ADM folks, a couple of the producers in the area at that time, and the Christopher Cove Homeowners Association. The Lower Loup NRD had funded a project to kind of do a water assessment of the area. We had contracted with HDR to do that work for us. They come in and took a bunch of information, did some water modeling, and had a pretty good idea of kind of what was going on. We had some increased development in the area through irrigation and extra industries in the area that use the groundwater. City of Columbus is growing all the time, so there's more water coming out of the area. So we identified this I'm going to call it decline area. We had worked with the modeling to kind of come up with some solutions. As far as the NRD is concerned, we have the authority to regulate. And so we can regulate groundwater users. So we could come in and actually make people reduce their consumption, reduce their pumping. But that does a lot of things. That requires a lot of management, and it also stifles economic development. So with the group, we had kind of come up with some ideas to actually do a recharge project, and there's a lot of water in the area, and we just needed to move it around and get it in the right spot. So the idea we came up with the idea of the recharge project, started looking into that. Had HDR, it's a consulting firm that did a bunch of the work for us, and found that, hey, this might work. We've got the old Lost Creek channel goes right through that decline area. That channel had been basically split off on the north side of town back in the late 70s, early 80s to a bypass channel flood control project, which is an excellent project, and it's really helped the city of Columbus grow. What it also did was it took that water from the channel, took it to the Loup Power Canal to get it around town. So our goal was to grab that water, bring it back, put it back in the Lost Creek channel, and use it for a recharge there. That recharge water then gets, we drilled the well there, that recharge water then gets pumped back up to Christopher Cove to help fluctuate or hold steady that water level. And the cove itself is it's a groundwater connected lake, so it acts as a recharge well. So that works pretty good. When we got the group together, come up with an idea for the project, you got to pay for them. So we started looking for funding avenues. We got the group together who committed money, the ADM plant, the Christopher Cove Homeowners Association, the city and the county, and of course the Lower Loup NRD all contributed funds to it. And we went for a water sustainability fund, which is through the Natural Resource Commission. That fund is very well used, and it's very needed in the state of Nebraska. We used it for about 1.2 million of the project, and then we went in for additional funding through the Bureau of Reclamation, their Water Smart Grant project or funding, and got another $750,000 through them. So without all those partners involved, this doesn't get built.
So we were responding to an RFP that was put out by the Lower Loup Natural Resources District, where they wanted to do kind of an inventory of the water resources in the Columbus area, to kind of have an understanding what the water supply components are, as well as the demands, and then see if there were anything being impacted in the area. And so we responded to that RFP, and we submitted a proposal, and were selected by the Lower Loup NRD and their board. And the project entailed, evaluating what the water sources are, like the Loup River, the Platte River, Loup Power District's Tailrace Canal, as well as the groundwater resource in the area. Through a multi-year study, we determined or were able to evaluate and analyze that there was a pretty significant groundwater decline that corroborated what the locals had been seeing, 10 to 14 feet in the area since roughly about 2010. So we initiated kind of the next feasibility study to come up with mitigation alternatives to do that. A couple of things that popped into mind immediately were there was a flood control project upstream of our decline area that 40 years ago intercepted the groundwater table and kind of removed some of the hydrology of that lower basin area. And then, you know, just the magnitude of water in the Loup Power District's canal was a very good water supply source. And then there was the Lost Creek Channel that had been robbed of that water, you know, upstream by the old flood control project, provided a really good area for us to recharge, you know, that water and offset that decline. Another area that presented itself later was the Christopher's Cove Lake. It's a sandpit lake that's directly connected. That gave us kind of 2 points of recharge that we could incorporate some water from the Loup Power Canal. So that kind of in a nutshell is what the project entailed.
The purpose of the Columbus Area Recharge Project through the Lower Loup Natural Resources District and its partners is to mitigate declining groundwater levels in the area southeast of Columbus. It was observed that groundwater levels were falling, causing an impact on area irrigation, municipal, industrial, and domestic wells. Due to current groundwater usage and the success of the Lost Creek Flood Project moving water around the area, the groundwater levels declined. As the area grew, the demands of water users required consistent groundwater levels. After a multi-year study, it was decided to carry water by pipeline from the Tail Race Canal to the Lost Creek Channel. Water in the channel would then leach into the ground and raise groundwater levels. A well and second pipeline provide recharge water from the Lost Creek Channel to Christopher's Cove, which serves as another groundwater recharge site. Installed observation wells monitor the water levels to match recharge with the aquifer's needs and ensures that no damages occur due to level changes. This successful project preserves needed resources and allows for continued community growth and groundwater use without regulation. The Columbus Area Recharge Project has been funded by the project sponsors and through a grant from the Nebraska Water Sustainability Fund and a drought resiliency grant from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation.
Well, Dennis Grennan and I live out at Christopher's Cove, and part of our association, which is 123 homes out around the lake now, and that's grown substantially. We moved there in 1991, and over the period of years, we've noticed not only fluctuation in the water levels, but a pretty steady decline after about 2010 it was. And so the association started kind of monitoring the levels and taking measurements and tracking it a bit more, and then there were a few years where the level actually got low enough where we really couldn't use the lake for boating. The restriction is going underneath the bridge that connects the island to the outside. So we did contact the Lower Loup Natural Resource District and started conversations about the water table in the area, because our lake is fed just from underground water and rain. And so concern, and particularly in those years where it was dry, the lake level would definitely get low. So conversations about what's the water table doing, is there anything that can be done to help stabilize that, knowing that it's affected by irrigation and whatever else is going on in the area. So working with the Lower Loup Natural Resource District, they put together a group of us that included our association along with the resource district, and then the county and the city and ADM, which has a big plant out there in the area. And so began the process of modeling water table levels, what the levels were doing over the course of a few years, and then actually plugging them into a model that could project on years that were really dry what our lake would look like. It was really alarming. to us as house owners, because for us, you know, it's not just a fluctuation of the lake level, which people had to move boats in and out. That was kind of an inconvenience. The bigger concern was on the longer term. If the lake really got low enough, then our property values could go down substantially and not get to use the lake on top of it. So working with the resource district, the modeling was done, and definitely gave us a good picture of what the water table was doing and how it reacted to rain, and then the pumping that was going on in the area and so forth. And so put together the project. Says let's see if we can find a solution that's good for all the parties, not just us, but good for all the parties, because water table in that whole area is impacted.
Number one, it's good for everybody, but yeah, we'll say the ag, that's probably the biggest benefactor is the people down there because of ground level. But there's been a lot of things happen over the years in Columbus that affected that area. One of them be the Lost Creek Flood Project, which kind of kept water from going under Columbus. That saved a lot of people, saved a lot of basements. And but then again, it kind of hurt the water supplies. So this seemed to be an excellent solution. And again, it was a partnership with a lot of people, which is always the best way to do things. We were honored to participate in this team effort. Actually, we were a small part, but we did it because it affects our people in the county, particularly some of the ag people down by ADM. So it was kind of a no-brainer. We were happy to do it. Proud of all the people that are involved, particularly the NRD and ADM, because they're carrying the load. But all in all, to me, it was a great team effort. I know it's taken a long time. Good things evidently always do take a long time. But we were happy to be a part of it.
A fair amount of the city's stormwater flows through Lost Creek and this groundwater recharge project. So the groundwater recharge project will provide a benefit to the stormwater in that it treats it. And so all the contaminants, the sediments, the oils will drop in the beds as designed and operated on this project. So that's a benefit to not only the people in the immediate area, but that's a benefit to the rivers, downstreams, the wildlife, and others. Yeah, Lower Loup NRD is obviously a great partner with the city, and the city looks forward to working with them. This project will do nothing but increase that benefit and increase that relationship, both from their side. The people of Columbus have taken on a positive view of this project, and the county people in the same thing in the area. So we're looking forward to continuing it, operating it in the future.